My name is Vanessa Blackwood, and revenge is a dish best served with a side of family secrets. I still remember the day my world collapsed. The mahogany-paneled reading room of Blackwood Manor felt suffocating as my father's will was read aloud. My three siblings, Jackson, Olivia, and Nathan, sat across from me, their expressions carefully neutral, but I knew better. I'd seen the smirks they exchanged when they thought I wasn't looking. And to my youngest daughter, Vanessa, the family attorney Mr. Garrison read in his monotone voice, I leave the sum of $1,000 and my sincere wishes for her future endeavors. $1,000. After dedicating the last 5 years of my life to caring for my father during his illness, abandoning my promising career in finance, and postponing my own dreams, the same father who controlled Blackwood Industries, worth an estimated $2.3 billion, my siblings, who had barely visited during his decline, received equal shares of the company, the estate, and the remaining assets. I maintained my composure somehow, even as Jackson's lips twitched into a barely concealed smile. Olivia examined her manicure, bored now that the important parts were over. Nathan at least had the decency to look uncomfortable, but he said nothing. "There must be some mistake," I finally said, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. "Mr. Garrison adjusted his glasses. "I'm afraid not. Miss Blackwood, the will is quite clear." That night, I sat alone in my childhood bedroom, the room I'd have to vacate within 30 days, according to the generous grace period my siblings had granted me. Rain lashed against the windows as I opened my father's journal, the one he'd pressed into my hands just days before his death. "When the time comes, read this," he'd whispered, his once commanding voice reduced to a rasp. "Not before. Promise me." I'd kept that promise. Now, as I turned the worn leather cover, a folded note fell out. "Dearest Vanessa, if you're reading this, the worst has happened. What transpires next will seem cruel, a betrayal of the worst kind. But sometimes, to protect what matters most, sacrifices must be made. The family we've built is rotting from within. Your siblings are not what they appear to be. I've played my part in creating this monster, and now I need your help to slay it. This disinheritance is not what it seems. It is the first move in a game they won't realize they're playing until it's too late. In my safe at the old boathouse, combination 052273, you'll find what you need to begin. Trust no one, not Garrison, not your siblings, not even those who claim to be on your side. Remember what I taught you. In chess, the queen appears vulnerable when she stands alone, but that's when she's most dangerous. I'm sorry for what comes next. Be smarter than I was. With love and faith." I read the letter 3 times, my hands trembling. Then I walked to my window and stared out at the vast Blackwood estate that was no longer my home. In the distance, lightning illuminated the small boathouse by the lake where my father had taught me to fish as a child. The rain had stopped by the time I made my way down there, guided only by the beam of my flashlight and a lifetime of knowing these grounds. The boathouse smelled of damp wood and distant memories. I found the safe hidden beneath a loose floorboard under the workbench. 5/22/73, my birthday. Inside was a USB drive, a key to a safe deposit box, and another note with a single line. "The game begins now." That was 6 months ago. Today. I stand outside the gleaming Blackwood Industries headquarters in downtown Boston. Dressed in clothes that cost more than my supposed inheritance, my hair is styled differently, my posture transformed from the broken woman who left the estate that rainy night. They think I disappeared to lick my wounds. They have no idea I've been building an arsenal. Today, the real game begins, and I always play to win. The Blackwood Industries lobby is a cathedral to corporate excess, all glass, chrome, and ego. The receptionist doesn't recognize me with my new look, but my family name still opens doors. Within minutes, I'm escorted to the executive floor where the quarterly board meeting is about to begin. Jackson, now CEO, would be furious if he knew I was here, but my invitation came from a different source. Eleanor Wright, my father's oldest friend and board member who always had a soft spot for me. What Jackson doesn't know is that Eleanor holds enough proxy votes to make things interesting. I take a deep breath before entering the boardroom. 6 months of careful planning has led to this moment. Ms. Blackwood? Eleanor rises to greet me, her silver hair elegantly coiffed as always. Several board members look up in surprise. Thank you for joining us today. Jackson's head snaps up from his papers, his face transitioning from confusion to anger in seconds. Vanessa, what are you doing here? I smile, channeling our father's boardroom confidence. Hello, brother. I was invited. This is a closed board meeting, he sputters, looking to Mr. Garrison, who sits in the corner, looking equally confused. Yes, and as Eleanor's invited guest, I'm well within protocol to observe, I reply, taking a seat at the far end of the table. Don't mind me. Please continue. Jackson's face reddens, but with 12 board members watching, he can't make a scene. He clears his throat and continues his presentation about the company's latest acquisition, a struggling tech firm called Nexacorp. I listen attentively, noting how he glosses over the financials. When he finishes, Eleanor speaks up. Before we vote on this acquisition, I'd like to hear from our guest. She nods in my direction. Vanessa has some insights that might interest the board. Jackson laughs dismissively. With all due respect, Eleanor, my sister has been gone for months. She's not involved with the company. Actually, I say, opening my laptop, I've been quite busy. I connect to the projector, and spreadsheets fill the screen. These are the real Nexacorp financials, not the version presented today. The room goes silent as board members lean forward to study the figures. Nexacorp isn't just struggling. It's a shell company carrying massive debt, I continue. Debt that would transfer to Blackwood upon acquisition. Interestingly, its primary creditor is Ascendant Partners, a private equity firm where my brother held a position before father's death. Jackson's face has gone from red to white. This is ridiculous. Where did you get this information? The SEC filing is public record, I reply calmly, as is the Delaware incorporation showing that Ascendant's managing director is Michael Ross, your former roommate from Harvard. Eleanor turns to Jackson, her expression hardening. Is this true? It's a standard acquisition. The debt would be restructured, Jackson protests, but his voice lacks conviction. What my brother means, I interject, is that $27 million of Blackwood money would be used to pay off Nexacorp's debt to Ascendant, essentially laundering company funds into friendly hands. I believe the technical term is self-dealing. The boardroom erupts in angry questions. Jackson attempts to regain control, but the damage is done. Eleanor calls for a vote to table the acquisition pending an independent audit. It passes unanimously. As the meeting adjourns, Jackson corners me by the elevator. What the hell do you think you're doing? He hisses. I maintain my smile for the benefit of passing executives. Just looking out for the family business. Brother, isn't that what father would want? You're not family anymore, he spits. You made your choice when you walked away. Did I walk away? Or was I pushed? I step onto the elevator. Either way, I'm back now, and we're just getting started. As the doors close on his furious face, I finally allow myself a moment of satisfaction. Phase 1 complete, but I know better than to underestimate Jackson. He'll retaliate quickly, which is exactly what I'm counting on. Back in my hotel room, I call the only ally I trust completely. How did it go? Asks Marcus, my father's former security chief, who was mysteriously let go a week after the funeral. Exactly as we predicted, Jackson took the bait. Then we don't have much time. They'll start digging into where you've been, who you've been talking to. Let them dig, I say, opening my father's journal again. They won't find anything until I want them to. Marcus sighs. Your father would be proud and worried. I know, but he started this game. I trace my finger over my father's handwriting, and I'm going to finish it. I spend the next morning at the Brookline safe deposit box, my father's key unlocked. Inside, I find what he left for me. Stock certificates, property deeds, and a detailed dossier on each of my siblings. But the most valuable item is a small recording device with a note. Listen alone. In my hotel room, I press play and hear my father's voice for the first time in 6 months. Vanessa, if you're listening to this, you've begun to understand the true nature of your inheritance. What I couldn't say while I was alive, what I couldn't risk even putting in writing, is that Blackwood Industries is in danger, not from outside forces, but from within. Jackson, Olivia, and Nathan believe they know everything about our family's business. They don't. The public face of Blackwood, the real estate holdings, the technology division, the investment arm, that's only part of the story. The true Blackwood legacy began with your great-grandfather during Prohibition. What started as bootlegging evolved over generations into a sophisticated operation that your siblings would destroy with their greed and carelessness. There's a secondary set of books, a shadow corporation that handles the family's more sensitive interests. Only the CEO and one trustee ever have access. I was planning to bring you into this trust upon my retirement, but my illness accelerated everything. Garrison was supposed to explain all this privately after the will reading, but I suspect he's been compromised. The sudden changes to my will, your disinheritance, these weren't my instructions. Find Richard Winters at First Boston Private Bank. Tell him the Falcon flies at midnight. He'll understand. The recording continues with details about offshore accounts, shell companies, and transactions that make my financial expertise curdle with their implications. My father's empire wasn't just built on real estate and technology. There were government contracts, international connections, and financial arrangements that bordered on money laundering. I sit back, stunned. Was I trying to save a legacy that deserved to fall? Or was there something more I wasn't seeing? My phone rings, an unknown number. Hello? Vanessa, it's Nathan. My youngest brother sounds anxious. We need to talk. Not at the office, not at the estate, somewhere public. I hesitate. Of my 3 siblings, Nathan was always the follower, going along with whatever Jackson and Olivia wanted, but he was also the only one who looked uncomfortable at the will reading. Why should I trust you? Because I know what Jackson is planning next, he says, and because I found something in Father's study that doesn't make sense. Please, the coffee shop in Cambridge, near your old apartment, 2 hours. I hang up and call Marcus immediately. It's a trap, he says without hesitation. Probably, but what if it's not? Nathan was always the weak link. Exactly why they'd use him as bait. If you go, I'm coming with you. 2 hours later, I sit in the back corner of the crowded coffee shop. Marcus positions himself at a table near the door, pretending to work on his laptop. When Nathan walks in, he looks terrible. Shadows under his eyes, his usually immaculate appearance disheveled. He slides into the seat across from me, hands shaking slightly as he places a manila envelope on the table. I found this hidden in Father's desk, he says without preamble. It was addressed to me, but I think you should see it too. I don't touch the envelope. Why now, Nathan? Why reach out after 6 months of silence? He runs a hand through his hair. Because I can't sleep. Because everything's wrong. He leans forward. Jackson isn't just running the company. He's dismantling it, selling off divisions, liquidating assets. When I questioned him, he said it was streamlining, but it doesn't make sense. And Olivia? She's worse. She's engaged to Senator Morrison's son. Suddenly she's hosting political fundraisers and talking about regulatory reform. He looks around nervously. I think they're erasing Father's legacy, but I don't understand why. I finally reach for the envelope and open it. Inside is a handwritten letter addressed to Nathan and a flash drive. I haven't looked at the drive, Nathan says. The letter was enough to scare me. I scan the letter quickly. It's from our father, warning Nathan about the burden of the Blackwood name and choices that can't be undone. It's vague but ominous. Have you told anyone else about this? Nathan shakes his head. I don't know who to trust. Jackson has people watching me. I had to lie about a doctor's appointment to get here. I study my brother's face, looking for deception. Either he's telling the truth, or he's a much better actor than I remember. Nathan, do you know what the falcon flies at midnight means? His brow furrows. No, should I? His confusion seems genuine. I make a decision. I need time to look at this, I say, pocketing the flash drive, but returning the letter. Keep the letter somewhere safe. Don't tell Jackson or Olivia we met. What's happening to our family, Vanessa? Nathan asks, his voice cracking slightly. I don't know yet, I reply honestly. But I'm going to find out. As Nathan leaves, Marcus joins me at the table. Well, either he's sincere, or this is an elaborate setup. I hold up the flash drive. Let's find out which. Back at my hotel, we use Marcus's secure laptop to check the drive. It contains hundreds of files, financial records, correspondence, and surveillance photos of our father meeting with people I don't recognize. Most disturbing are the pictures of a woman who looks remarkably like our mother. Taken just last year, 10 years after her supposed death. This can't be real, I whisper. Marcus points to a timestamp on one of the photos. This was taken in Geneva. Your father was there for the banking conference. My mother died in a boating accident. I saw the body. Did you? Marcus asks gently. You were 16. Vanessa. The casket was closed at the funeral. I try to process this revelation while scanning through more files. There are transfer records showing millions moving through a series of offshore accounts, all eventually leading to a name I recognize. Winter Holdings. Richard Winters, the man my father mentioned in his recording. We need to move faster, I tell Marcus. First Boston Private Bank, tomorrow morning. That night, I can barely sleep. If my mother is alive, what else don't I know about my family? When I finally drift off, I dream of my father teaching me chess, his voice echoing, "The queen sacrifices herself," only to reveal it was a trap all along. Richard Winters looks nothing like a banker. With his weathered face and calloused hands, he seems more like a fisherman or carpenter. His office at First Boston Private Bank is minimalist, with no family photos or personal touches. When I tell him the passphrase, his expression doesn't change, but he walks to his door and locks it. I wondered when you'd come, he says, returning to his desk. Your father said it would be you. My father told me a lot of things, I reply carefully. Not all of them make sense. Edward Blackwood was a complicated man. Winters opens a drawer and removes a thick file. He built an empire on secrets, some necessary, others destructive. I need to understand what I'm involved in. Winters studies me for a long moment. The Blackwood family doesn't just run a corporation. Ms. Blackwood, for 3 generations, your family has served as financial intermediaries for government operations that require discretion. You're talking about money laundering, I say flatly. I'm talking about national security, he counters. International aid that can't be traced. Funding for operations in countries where America officially has no presence. Technology transfers that bypass conventional channels. That's illegal? It's complicated, Winters corrects, and very, very lucrative. Your great-grandfather began this arrangement during World War II. Your grandfather expanded it during the Cold War. Your father modernized it for the digital age. I think of the offshore accounts, the shell companies, and my siblings. They know the company is profitable. They don't know why. Winters leans forward. Your father was planning to retire, to step back from both the public company and the shadow operation. He was grooming you to take over the latter. Why me? Because you understand finance but maintain a moral compass. Because you ask questions like the one you just asked. He slides the file toward me. This contains everything you need to access the shadow accounts, the authorization codes, the contacts, the protocols. I don't touch the file. And if I don't want any part of this? Then the arrangement ends, and certain government agencies will need to find new channels. The Blackwood fortune will diminish considerably over time without these income streams, and potentially, historical scrutiny might be uncomfortable for your family's legacy. Blackmail after all these years? Winters shrugs. Insurance. Your father understood the game. My mother, I say suddenly, is she alive? Winters' expression reveals nothing. That's not a question I'm authorized to answer. But you know. I know many things, Ms. Blackwood, just as your father did. He taps the file. The question is, what do you want to know? I finally take the file. Everything. The next 3 weeks are a crash course in my family's true business. I meet with contacts in government agencies who never offer their real names. I access accounts containing more money than the legitimate Blackwood Industries is worth. I learn about operations in countries I've barely heard of, all while watching my siblings from a distance. Jackson continues his selling spree, liquidating Blackwood assets at an alarming rate. Olivia's political connections deepen, with rumors she might run for office herself. Nathan keeps his head down, though Marcus's surveillance confirms he hasn't told anyone about our meeting. Then comes the news I've been waiting for. Blackwood Industries announces a major restructuring, with the family's historical real estate holdings, including the estate itself, to be sold off to a consortium of international investors. It's time, I tell Marcus as we watch the press conference on TV. Jackson looks triumphant, standing at the podium with Olivia beside him. Nathan is nowhere to be seen. Are you sure about this? Marcus asks. Once you make this move, there's no going back. I think about everything I've learned, about my family's legacy, both public and shadow, about my father's final lessons, about the choice he left me. I'm sure. The annual Blackwood Charity Gala is the perfect stage for my return, held at the Boston Museum of Fine Arts. It's the social event of the season, where the city's elite gather to congratulate themselves on their philanthropy while making business connections. My entrance causes exactly the stir I'd hoped for. Conversation halts as I walk in, wearing a gown that costs more than my supposed inheritance. Eleanor spots me first, her smile genuine as she comes to greet me. You certainly know how to make an entrance, she says, kissing my cheek. I learned from the best, I reply. Scanning the room, I spot Jackson in deep conversation with the mayor, while Olivia holds court with a group of society women. Where's Nathan? He sent his regrets, something about not feeling well. Eleanor studies me. You've been busy these past few months. You could say that. I hand her a small envelope. A gift, for your continued support. She tucks it away without looking inside. Whatever happens next, remember that your father believed in you above all others. As Eleanor moves away, I prepare for my next encounter. I don't have to wait long. You have some nerve showing up here, Olivia hisses, appearing at my side with a champagne flute clutched so tightly I fear it might shatter. Unlike Jackson's explosive anger, my sister's rage runs cold. It's still a family event, I reply pleasantly, and I'm still a Blackwood, regardless of the will. A name doesn't make you family. Loyalty does. Her perfect smile never wavers as she speaks through gritted teeth. You think we didn't know what you were doing at the board meeting? That little stunt cost us millions. Saved the company millions. You mean, you have no idea what you're interfering with. Actually, I counter, I know exactly what I'm doing, just like I know about the sale of the estate, and the meetings with Treadwell Acquisitions, and those interesting transfers to the Cayman account. Olivia's composure slips for just a moment. You're bluffing. Am I? Perhaps we should discuss it with some of your fiancé's political connections. I nod toward a group of distinguished gentlemen across the room. I'm sure they'd be fascinated by the Blackwood family's financial arrangements. For the first time in our lives, I see fear in my sister's eyes. What do you want? Meet me in Father's study at the estate. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Bring Jackson. The estate is being prepared for sale. We can meet at the office. The estate, I repeat firmly, one last time, before it changes hands. I leave her standing there, fuming but calculating. She'll come, and she'll bring Jackson. They'll think it's to their advantage. Home territory, 2 against 1. They don't realize I've been living at the estate for the past week, courtesy of the master key my father left me and the security codes Marcus still knows. The next night, I wait in my father's study, sitting in his chair behind the massive oak desk where he taught me to review financial statements when I was just 10 years old. The room still smells like him, leather, expensive cologne, and the faint trace of the cigars he would secretly smoke by the open window. At exactly 8 p.m., I hear them enter. Jackson leads, as always, with Olivia close behind. They both stop short when they see me in our father's chair. Making yourself comfortable with other people's property? Jackson sneers. Family property, I correct, at least for a few more weeks, until your fire sale is complete. It's a strategic divestment, he replies stiffly. The real estate holdings were underperforming. Is that what you tell yourself? I open a folder on the desk. Because the actual returns show consistent 8% annual growth, well above market average for commercial real estate. We're not here to discuss business strategy with someone who has no stake in the company. Olivia cuts in. You said you wanted to meet. We're here. What do you want? Straight to the point. I've always appreciated that about you. Liv, I gesture to the chairs across from the desk. Please, sit. This might take a while. They exchange glances but comply, their posture rigid with tension. I've spent the last few months learning some interesting things about our family, I begin. About Father's real business, about what Blackwood Industries actually does. We know what our company does, Jackson interrupts. Do you? Do you know about the accounts in Liechtenstein? The Shell Corporation in Panama? The arrangement with certain government agencies that dates back to World War II? Their blank expressions confirm what I suspected. They have no idea about the shadow operation. What are you talking about? Olivia demands. I slide copies of documents across the desk. Account statements, contracts, photographs of our father with government officials. The Blackwood fortune isn't just built on real estate and technology, I explain as they flip through the papers with increasing alarm. The real money comes from serving as financial intermediaries for operations that need to remain off the books. This is nonsense, Jackson scoffs, but his voice lacks conviction as he stares at the evidence. Is it? You've been selling off divisions, liquidating assets? Where do you think the money is actually going? To the shareholders, to the family, he insists. Some of it, yes, but significant portions are being diverted to accounts you don't control, because you don't even know they exist. I tap the documents. These operations didn't stop when Father died. They can't stop, because too many powerful people depend on them. Olivia, always quicker than Jackson, narrows her eyes. If what you're saying is true, then who's been running this shadow company since Father died? I say simply. It's what he prepared me for. The silence that follows is broken only by the ticking of the antique clock on the mantel. That's impossible, Jackson finally says. You were disinherited. From the public company, yes. From the family name, never. I lean forward. Father knew what you two were planning. The asset stripping, the sale of the estate, the dismantling of his life's work. He knew you'd discovered enough about the real operation to be dangerous, but not enough to understand its importance. So this whole thing, your disappearance, the disinheritance, it was all some elaborate setup? Olivia asks incredulously. Father had to know who he could trust. He needed to see what you would do when you thought you had control. I stand up, walking to the window that overlooks the estate gardens. You failed his test spectacularly. Jackson's face flushes with anger. This is absurd. We'll go to the board with this. You'll do what exactly? I turn back to them. Tell them that our family has been running a quasi-legal financial operation for 3 generations. That would go over well with the shareholders, with Senator Morrison, with your fiancé's family. What do you want? Olivia asks again, her voice hard. The same thing Father wanted. To protect the Blackwood legacy, all of it. I return to the desk. You have 2 options. First, you can fight me on this, try to expose the operation, and watch as our entire family is destroyed. Reputation, fortune, freedom, everything. And the second option? Jackson asks warily. You continue as you are, the public faces of Blackwood Industries. You stop selling off the core assets. You maintain the family image. And in return, You both receive generous annual payments from accounts you will never control or fully understand. You want us to be puppets, Olivia says bitterly. I want you to be Blackwoods, I correct, to uphold the legacy Father built, even if you don't fully comprehend it. And Nathan? Where does he fit in your grand plan? Nathan made his choice weeks ago. When he reached out to me, he's already accepted a similar arrangement. Jackson stands abruptly. This is blackmail. This is inheritance, I counter. The real one, not the performance at the will reading. I open the center drawer of the desk and remove 2 envelopes, each bearing their names in our father's distinctive handwriting. He left these for you. I was instructed to deliver them only after explaining the situation. I hold them out. Read them. Think about your options, but don't take too long. Olivia takes both envelopes, handing one to Jackson. How do we know these are really from Father? Read them, you'll know. They leave without another word, their shock and anger palpable. As the door closes behind them, I exhale slowly, the tension I've been carrying for months finally beginning to ease. Marcus emerges from the adjoining room where he's been listening. They'll fight back, he warns. Of course they will. I agree. But they'll lose. Father made sure of that. And Nathan? I think of my youngest brother, who risked everything to reach out to me. He gets a second chance. He was always more follower than leader. And you? What do you get out of all this? I run my hand along the smooth surface of the desk where my father built his empire, where he taught me everything he knew. About business, about power, about family. I get to keep my promise, I say quietly, to protect what matters. The next morning brings exactly the response I expected. Jackson calls, his voice tightly controlled. We need to meet again, all of us, including Nathan. The boathouse, I suggest. Noon? Fine. The old boathouse holds special significance. It's where this all began for me, where I found my father's hidden safe. It's also where I've arranged for Richard Winters and 2 of his government colleagues to be waiting in the small office area, out of sight but within earshot. Nathan arrives first, looking nervous but resolute. They're furious, he warns me. Jackson was up all night making calls. To who? Everyone, lawyers, board members, even Mr. Garrison. Let them come, I say calmly. When Jackson and Olivia arrive, they're together as always, but something has changed in their dynamic. Olivia looks pale, her usual perfect composure frayed at the edges. Jackson seems almost manic, a dangerous gleam in his eyes. You think you're so clever, he begins without preamble. But this little scheme ends now. I remain seated on the old workbench. Is that so? We've spoken to Garrison. The will can be contested on grounds of undue influence, and these wild stories about shadow companies and government connections, you can't prove any of it. Actually, she can, says a new voice as Richard Winters steps out from the office. In considerable detail. Jackson whirls around. Who the hell are you? Someone who's worked with the Blackwood family for 30 years. Winters nods at me respectfully. Someone who recognizes the rightful successor to Edward Blackwood's full legacy. This is a private family matter, Olivia snaps. It stopped being just a family matter in 1943, Winters replies mildly. When your great-grandfather made certain arrangements with the government during wartime, 2 more men emerged from the office, both wearing the unmistakable demeanor of federal agents even in civilian clothes. Mr. Blackwood, Ms. Blackwood, one of them addresses my siblings. Your family has provided valuable services to this country for generations. We would prefer that arrangement continues uninterrupted. Jackson looks between them and me, understanding dawning on his face. This is what Father was involved in? Government work? Among other things, I confirm, the details of which are above your clearance level. Clearance level? Olivia echoes incredulously. We're not spies. We're business people. Sometimes the line blurs, Winter says. Your father understood that. Vanessa understands that. The question is, do you? Nathan, who has been silent until now, steps forward. I've seen the evidence. Jackson, it's real. Father left it for me too. You knew about this? Jackson rounds on him. Not until recently, but once I understood what was at stake. He shrugs. I made my choice. A wise one, says the second agent. We strongly encourage you both to make the same choice. The implication hangs heavy in the air. This isn't just about inheritance anymore. It's about national security, about arrangements that go far beyond our family dynamics. So that's it? Jackson's voice cracks with indignation. Vanessa controls everything now? Not everything, I correct. You both retain your positions at Blackwood Industries. You continue to live your lives exactly as before. The only difference is that certain decisions, like selling the estate or liquidating core assets, will require my approval. And if we refuse? Olivia challenges. The first agent smiles thinly. Then certain historical investigations might become necessary. Investigations that would be uncomfortable for everyone involved, but particularly for those attempting to dismantle established channels. Olivia, always the pragmatist, recognizes defeat when she sees it. We need time to consider our options. Take all the time you need, I offer generously. But the sale of the estate is canceled as of today. Consider that non-negotiable. When they leave, only Nathan remains, looking both relieved and troubled. Was any of it real? He asks quietly. Father's love for us? Or were we all just pieces on his chessboard? I think of the man who taught me to fish in this very boathouse, who read me bedtime stories, who attended every school play even when he had meetings with world leaders the next day. Both, I answer honestly. He loved us in his way, but he was always playing the long game. And now you're playing it too. Someone has to. Nathan nods slowly. What happens now? Now we rebuild what they tried to dismantle. We protect the legacy, all of it, and maybe, in time, we find a way to be a family again. Is that even possible after all this? I think of the dossiers my father compiled on each of us, our strengths, our weaknesses, our potential, how he saw us clearly, perhaps more clearly than we saw ourselves. Father thought so, I say. Otherwise, why go to all this trouble? As Nathan leaves, Winters approaches me. Your father would be proud. You played it exactly as he would have. Not exactly, I correct. I gave them a choice. He never would have. True. Edward was more absolute in his judgments. Winters studies me. The transition is complete. The accounts, the contacts, the operations, they're all yours now. And the other matter we discussed? Winters hesitates. Are you certain you want to proceed? Some doors, once opened, can never be closed. I think of the photographs of the woman who looks like my mother, of all the secrets still buried in the Blackwood legacy. I'm certain, I say. It's time for the whole truth. 3 months later, Blackwood Manor hums with activity as staff prepare for the annual family Christmas gathering. The sale canceled. The estate restored to its former glory. Tradition maintained. In the library, I review quarterly reports from both the public company and the shadow operation. Jackson has been surprisingly cooperative since our confrontation, applying his business acumen within the boundaries I've established. Olivia's political connections have proved useful for certain operations, though she remains coldly formal with me. Nathan has become my closest ally, his natural diplomatic skills smoothing relations within the family and with our government contacts. A knock at the door interrupts my work. Marcus enters, his expression unreadable. They've arrived, he says simply. I take a deep breath. Show them in. A moment later, the door opens again, and a woman enters. Her hair is shorter and streaked with more gray than in the photographs, but her eyes, my eyes, are unmistakable. Hello. Vanessa, says my mother, alive after all these years. Behind her stands Richard Winters and another man I don't recognize, both looking apprehensive. You have 20 minutes, Winters tells her. Then we need to move to the next location. She nods and waits until they leave before speaking again. You look so much like him, she says softly. Why? Is all I can manage to ask. She moves to the window, looking out at the estate grounds. The official story is that I entered witness protection. That's what your siblings will be told, what the world will believe. And the truth? The truth is more complicated. She turns back to me. Your father's work, his real work, created powerful enemies. My death was designed to protect all of you. For 10 years, without a word? It was supposed to be temporary, a few months, maybe a year. Her voice catches. But then threats became operations. Operations became connections. And suddenly there was no safe way back without exposing everything. Father knew you were alive. She nods. He was the only one who could know. The arrangement required absolute secrecy. Did you ever think about us? About what you left behind? Every day. She takes a step toward me, stopping when I tense. I watched from a distance. Your graduations, Jackson's wedding, Olivia's political fundraisers, Nathan's art show in New York. You were there all this time? Not physically, but I saw photographs, videos. Your father made sure I knew you were all safe, thriving. The revelation staggers me. He let you go. He chose the operation over our family. No, she says firmly. He chose to protect our family the only way he could, just as you're doing now. It's not the same. Isn't it? You've taken on his mantle. You're making the same impossible choices. She glances at the reports on the desk. You're becoming what he was. I'm protecting our legacy. Yes, but at what cost? She looks at her watch. My time is almost up. I can't stay in one place too long, even now. You're leaving again. I have to, but now you know I'm alive. That's more than before. She reaches into her pocket and removes a small object, a chess piece, the queen. Your father wanted you to have this. He said you'd understand what it means. I take it, feeling the weight of the carved ivory in my palm. The queen stands alone. But she's never truly alone, my mother corrects. Even when she appears isolated on the board, she's part of a larger strategy. She moves to the door. You've done well, Vanessa. Better than he hoped. Better than I dared to dream. Will I see you again? Perhaps, when it's safe. She pauses at the threshold. Take care of them. Jackson, Olivia, Nathan, they don't understand what you've sacrificed for them. They never will. No, she agrees sadly. That's the burden of the queen. To protect the others without them ever knowing the true cost. After she's gone, I stand at the window watching as an unmarked car drives away from Blackwood Manor. In my hand, the chess piece feels both heavier and lighter than it should. The door opens again, and Nathan enters. Everything okay? He asks, noting my expression. You look like you've seen a ghost. I think of my mother, alive but forever separated from us by secrets and duty, of my father, who orchestrated this elaborate game from beyond the grave, of my siblings, who will never know the full truth. No ghosts, I assure him, pocketing the chess piece, just the past making way for the future. Outside the window, snow begins to fall on the Blackwood estate, covering everything in a clean white blanket, erasing footprints, concealing secrets, offering the illusion of a fresh start. But I know better. In the game my father began, and I now continue. There are no fresh starts, only new moves in an ancient strategy. The inheritance I received wasn't the $1,000 mentioned in the will. It was this, the responsibility to protect the Blackwood legacy, by any means necessary. And like the queen on the chessboard, I'll do whatever it takes to win.